So this week, I'd like to talk to you about honesty. And not in the usual sense, because a lot of us feel like we're being honest with ourselves and with others when maybe that isn't fully the case. When we say, I'm fine, or it's really okay, it's going to work out just fine. Right? This isn't, or this is one of my, that wasn't that big a deal. You feel that? You feel those times you say that? And it isn't even like you need to say that to somebody else. You may be saying that to yourself. But inside, there's something that's just you're not totally with that thing that you're saying. Right? Because it takes another step to take a look at that. It takes taking the time to go, well, maybe I'm not so fine. Maybe this isn't okay. And even though it shouldn't be a big deal, God, do we should on ourselves? It can feel like it is in here. And the thing about our bodies is they never lie. Our minds can lie to us all the time, but our bodies can't. So if we really want to know where the truth is, it's always in here. But then you got to take the time to check that out. So yesterday, I'm walking my dog Buddy, and we went for a pretty long walk, and I was done and ready to get back home, and we're starting to get home, and across the street in front of us, it comes this family of mother, father, little toddler, and the toddler is holding the leash to this gigantic dog. So I stop on our side of the street, see what they're going to do next, and they stop. And the dad notices me, and he tries to grab the leash from the toddler, and she won't give it up. And so they have this little thing, and then he just kind of shrugs at me. And so I'm standing over there with my little 17-pound dog waiting, and I could feel frustration starting to pop up a little bit. And so my process is when I feel that, I should say my process now is, because I'm also going to tell you about some times when it wasn't. My process now is to go, oh, feel that? I wonder where that is in my body. And take the moment to go, oh, I'm frustrated now. I could still go, well, it's because of them. They're over there in my way and I want to get home. But instead, what I do is I just go, I'm feeling this right now. I could feel my stomach getting a little tight, feel it in my neck and my shoulders, maybe in my chest and my breathing. And I stayed with that. I didn't move so quickly to, it's time to treat, it's time to shift my frame. I stayed those extra moments with how I was feeling, and in so doing, I could feel my body relax. And then once it did, then I said, look at what a beautiful family they are hanging out together. Look at what a beautiful day it is and the sun shining on my face. Now what I notice, what a lot of people do in this teaching, is they go straight to that other part and wonder why they're saying they're fine, they're saying they're shifted, when in fact they haven't. And so the mechanism that I want to talk to you about today is that mechanism of taking the time to be with where you really are before you do the techniques that we teach here to bring you to where you could be. That there's this spot in the middle that we sometimes rush over and then think, we've actually shifted. Like what happened to me last November. Last November, I had to go to this meeting. I'd seen the agenda beforehand and was upset about it. Triggered me. And so I was doing all this work to calm myself, center myself, go, it's no big deal, I can do this. And then the day came for the meeting. I was still triggered. I could feel it. It was clear. I mean, I'm doing things like pacing in my apartment before the Zoom meeting, right? I'm just pacing all over the place. And I'm doing all these treatment work, and I'm trying to calm myself down. And now I'm late to the meeting because I don't want to enter it before I'm centered and calm, except now I'm late to it. And so at some point, I just said to myself, I got this. Have you ever done that? I got this. And when I went into that meeting, somebody said something. I immediately blurted something out that I totally regret. And it was disastrous. It was absolutely disastrous because I wasn't being honest with myself. One of the things I told myself beforehand is, I'm not going to that meeting, right? And probably would have been a better idea to listen to that voice. But maybe you've had that, it doesn't have to be about that, but maybe you've had the experience of wanting to, get yourself to a centered place and then thinking you're there, and then you show up, and then sure enough, you're not, because it shows up, right? In the end, it shows up. That's the thing about it. We can be lying to ourselves all day long about how centered we are, how fine it is, how okay it is, how it's not that big a deal. But then the moment comes and you learn that you weren't as clear about that as you thought you were. Or am I the only one? So that's what we're really dealing with here is that moment. Now, that's not to say, I know that what we call here our spiritual practice of spiritual mind treatment and reframing and how to look at things and feel the good and all that stuff, it works. But I've noticed that it works better if we acknowledge where we are first. It makes me think about you go to the emergency room, right? And before the doctor looks at you or has any clue what's going on with you, he comes out and says, here, take this. Would you do it? You'd go, wait a minute. You haven't checked me out yet. Well, that's what you're doing, or I'm doing, or any of us are doing anytime we go straight to what we think is the solution before we've sat with what actually is going on with us. And it's called editing, right? We try to edit our experience instead of be with our experience and have an organic, natural shift to it, which will happen, but you got to be willing to trust that. And that is what I have been very deep in since November, right? That happened. It hasn't happened since. And in fact, I have been practicing so much around this one piece of when I'm triggered, I don't do nothing until I am centered again and truly centered, which is where honesty comes in. Am I really centered? How do I know? Well, my stomach is more relaxed now. My shoulders are more relaxed. My breathing is more normal. I'm not breathing fast anymore. And I don't have that urge to get up and pace like crazy, which I know is always a sign I'm not centered. So what are your signs? I hear, here's a different topic, but the same sort of thing is every time I hear somebody say, I'm not controlling, they've just said that they are. Right? I don't want to control this. They just said that they do. And so, it's the same thing. It's what are your words? What words do you use that you hear come out of your mouth that you can use to remind yourself that you're not being who you think you're being in that moment? Simply because you said you weren't being that. That is an incredibly good sign. Like when I say I'm fine, I know I'm not. Right? When I say it's okay, rather than, okay, I'm feeling the healing around this, it's a different feel, right? Than, oh, it's okay. I know you didn't mean it. We fluff those things off really quickly before we have a chance to see the impact it actually had on our bodies. And that impact it has on our bodies hurts. It hurts. So if we take the time to breathe, to be with, to feel the feeling. Now you can take it the other way too. Here's the other side, the hypochondriac side of it, is when you take that idea of this is my hurt now and it's your fault. What you did was wrong. Now you're not being with yourself either. You've edited in the other direction. Or you say, because of my childhood wounds, that's how come I am the way I am. Well, you just defended a wound that you probably want to heal. That's not being with it either. So we have these two ways in which we can edit our experience. And the thing about editing our experiences is the second we do that, we have lost the true agency to make a real shift. So that when we go into spiritual practice without first acknowledging and being in that place of knowing where we are, we may feel better in the moment, but in the end we really haven't created any permanent and real healing because we haven't been with the actual wound of it. Whether we're saying it's from the past or from the future or what this other person did or because of this event or whatever, the second we're there, we're not here. Our mind, you can't be in your mind and your body at the same moment. And healing occurs in the body, even if it's emotional healing. True healing occurs in the body when we are willing to just be with that place in ourselves that hurts. Hurts physically or maybe hurts emotionally, because any emotional hurt you have is somewhere in your body. And remembering that and being willing to be with that and go, okay, let me be with that for a minute. Let me love on that. Then, when you use the techniques we teach here in class and all this stuff, then you feel something a shift that can actually change your life. And I notice the ones who are, some people are just better at being a deeper honest with themselves. This thing is like, we talk about this all the time, an onion, an artichoke, however you want to look at it from that standpoint, right? We're talking about layering. So what was true around your wound in one instance, if you truly healed it, well, now you're at the next layer of it. And then the next layer of it. And like any new healing of, if you ever cut yourself and pull off the Band-Aid too soon and then the skin's like super sensitive underneath, am I the only one who's ever experienced that? That is what we're talking about here. It's that sensitive. It's that uncomfortable. And that's where true healing is starting to happen, in that place of uncomfortability. Okay, then don't. You're welcome to stay up here. I am all for people doing what they want. Even the little people. Maybe especially the little people. There's this extraordinary opportunity that we have for healing. And the thing about life is there's no shortness of opportunities. In any given day, the amount of opportunities you get to take a look at your pain, to take a look at what annoys you, to take a look at what others, this world, so many people do such annoying things. Am I the only one who's ever felt that way? Those are opportunities. Oh, look at me, I'm annoyed. Oh, where is that in my body? Where have I been holding on to something? Yeah, you don't see little kids like under the age of 2 get annoyed. They might be upset, but that's really something we learn. So it's about the layers we've built. We can let those go, one by one by one. Not easily. I'm making it sound, this is simple, but it's not easy. Heck, I'm 70 and I'm still working on the thing, right? So I know it's not easy. I've been at this a long time. But the cost of not doing it is great. That's the thing about it. The cost of not doing it is so large. My first marriage, for any of you who are new, I've been married 4 times. I'm still married in my 4th marriage so far. We're getting along pretty good, so the odds are in my favor right now. Today. Anyway, in my first marriage, keeping things real, In my first marriage, I was at work, stayed late for an office party, came home a little, walked into the apartment, and my wife's mother and my best friend were sitting there to tell me that my wife had been raped in the apartment in our bed. And that we needed to get to the hospital where she was. They had just been waiting for me. Got to the hospital. Jan and I fell into each other's arms, crying. And then we started the road to healing. Except we were young, in our 20s, didn't really know much about healing, and so what we did most was say stuff like, it's okay. We did some counseling. We moved out of that apartment. And we just went along, trying to be okay. Me trying to be supportive, and her trying to be strong. And we didn't know how to be anywhere different, so we kept saying, I'm fine. And after 6 months, we were divorced. We just fell apart. That's the cost of when we don't be honest with ourselves. I didn't know that then. Now I do. There's a huge cost to when we are not, at the deepest of levels, honest with ourselves. Sometimes those costs are not as great as what I went through back then. Sometimes they're smaller, but they build on each other. So instead of taking away a layer, if you're saying you're fine, it's not a big deal, or I'm okay, you're actually adding a layer instead of subtracting one. That's what we're doing. all the time, adding or subtracting these layers of armor as to who we are and who we showed up to be in this life. What I notice most is the vulnerability. I mean, so I had not thought about that for many years now. And then when it came up as a perfect story to tell around the cost of not being honest with yourself, it occurred to me I had not still healed it completely because I busted out crying when I thought about it. I was walking in the park when it came to me. But now I'm vulnerable enough with myself to notice, oh, I still haven't healed that completely. And that was 50 years ago. Oh, I'm still holding on to that. And it was however many years ago. So when you look into yourself, you want to know. So you're not stealing your agency, stealing your ability to heal, because that's what happens when you add layers. You are further away from your authentic self. Anytime you make a stand for being okay when you're not, or you make a stand of, I'm not because of this thing, you are adding to the layers instead of allowing them to heal. And so I'm in that process right now, continually, as I invite all you. We offer some fantastic techniques here for reframing, spiritual practices, for our spiritual mind treatment. And first step to all of it is how honest can you be about your moment now? That in this moment, what's true in your body? Feel it now. I mean, we're all editing all the time, so take a moment to breathe it in right now. How does it feel in your body? How does your body feel? Where are you holding on to? Because if you feel a tightness anywhere, that's you holding on to something that you have yet to be fully honest about with yourself. And that's what's possible here. To be that healthy with yourself. To be that in love with yourself. To be that whole with yourself. So that your life can flourish into the joyful life we talk about here. Thank you. I love you.